ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಶರಣು ಶರಣಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು. Dear learners, welcome back to SPPS online classes. Dear students, we have started NCERT class 7th hour past 2 history section, chapter number 4, the Mughal Empire. Yes, dear students, in the previous video class 1, 2, 3 and 4, we have covered the discussion on the various concepts from this chapter. Now in the present video class 5, we are going to discuss a closer look Akbar's policies, and lastly we are going to discuss the Mughal Empire in the 17th century and after. So let us begin our discussion about Akbar's policies. Yes, dear students, Akbar was a great warrior and an excellent administrator. He took nearly 2 decades, means 20 years, to consolidate his power and extend his empire far towards the Deccan under his direct control. He also took steps to end the internal conflicts in his kingdom through his diplomatic skills as well as organizational capabilities. So these policies or diplomatic skills are called the policies. Yes, dear students, Akbar's ruling period, he was maintained administrative policies, political policies, as well as religious policies. So let us begin our discussion administrative policies of Akbar. So these policies were written in Abul Fazl's third volume book Ain-i Akbari. So he described the Akbar's administration in his book. So start with the discussion regarding future planning of the administrative success. Akbar made various diplomatic ideas to divide the provinces and appointing the various persons for each and every division of his empire, and he was controlled the provinces with huge empire. So this was the idea he was followed. So start with the discussion. Akbar's empire was divided into provinces. So those provinces are in number of 15. So 15 provinces are called the subas. So each every province is called the subas, and maintaining the all the subas or administrating these subas, the one of the person was appointed by the Akbar. So the person called the subadar or referred as subadar, and subadar carried out both political and military functions of the provided subas, and each province had a financial officer referred as diwan. So each every province or each subas had a one financial officer called diwan. And for maintenance of peace and order, Subadar was supported other officers like military paymaster referred as Bakshi, the minister in charge of religious and charitable patronage referred as Sadr, and military commanders referred as Fauzdar, and the town police commander referred as Kotwal. So Subadar not only maintaining his subas, as well as he was maintaining the political issues and military functions, and he providing the supports to other administrative officers in his subas. So next we go through the, and nobles commanded large armies and had access to large amounts of revenue. So nobles, they wanted some protection from the opponent rulers. So and they had to access the large amounts of revenues. So these are the some policies the Akbar maintained in his ruling period. So next we go through the, so just you observe, this is the map of Indian subcontinent during the Akbar's rule, and Akbar divided his empire in various subas. Those are in number of 15, and each and every subas or province had a one person, that is the person referred as subadar, and subadar maintaining the military policies as well as political policies, and he was supporting the all the administrative persons in his provided subas. So this is about the Akbar's policies and administrative reforms. And next we go through the about another one diplomatic skill that we call the Akbar's religious policies. Yes, dear students, when Akbar was in the capital of Fatehpur Sikri in 1570s, he discussed about religion with the ulemas, brahmanas, Jesus priests, and who were Roman Catholics and Zoroastrians. So ulema means a body of Muslim scholars who are recognized as having special list of knowledge about Islamic sacred laws and theology, and Brahmanas they got the knowledge about the Vedas, and Jesuit priest means who are worshipping the Jesus Christ. So those persons are referred as Roman Catholics and Zoroastrians. So these persons regularly they had the meeting with the Akbar in his hall Ibadat Khana, and after meeting these discussions took place in the Ibadat Khana, and the Akbar was interested in the religion and social customs of different people. So and sometimes even in the after discussion he was coming to conclusion that some of the religious matters became issue in his empire because of the religious leaders and their experience speeches, those the people easily not accepted, so that these their teachings created divisions and disharmony amongst his subjects. This eventually Akbar led the idea of Sulah Aikul or universal peace. So, this universal peace means this idea of tolerance did not discriminate between people of different religion in his province. So that this Sulah Aikul, this is the one of the religion he was accepted because this religion did not discriminate the people between the different religion in his province. So Abul Fazl, so it focused on a system of ethics, so that based on the honesty, justice, and peace. So Abul Fazl helped Akbar in framing a vision of governance around the idea of Sulah Aikul. So, this principle of governance was followed by the successor Jahangir and Shah Jahan. So, these are all the religious policies accepted by the Akbar during his ruling period. And some other, first of all, this picture Mughal miniature picture depicts about the Akbar holding discussions with the learned individuals of different faiths in the Ibadat Khana. So Ibadat Khana is the one of the meeting hall of during the period of Akbar rule. So next we go through the some of the other religious policies. So Akbar followed a policy of religious tolerance and believed in administering equal justice to the followers of all religion. He wanted to unite the diverse races of India into one nation. He took a number of measures and laid the foundation of an empire based on equal rights to all citizens, irrespective of their religious beliefs. And he abolished jizya. Jizya is the one of the tax which the non-Muslims were required to pay, and the pilgrims tax on bathing at the holy places such as Prayag and Banaras. So these were abolished in his during rule of his period, and he treated all his subjects equally, gave high posts according to their merit without any distinctions of caste, creed, or religion. He married Rajput princess and allowed them freedom to participate their own faith, and he also allowed them to celebrate Diwali and Holi, and himself used to take part in these festivals, and he gave land grants to persons of merit irrespective of their religious beliefs. So who got the knowledge, who got the well knowledge about maintaining the administrative system of the Akbar's empire, the Akbar willingly he was provided various lands grants to those persons. So this shows us his religious policies are religious tolerance and according to justice, honest, and some of the ethics. So next we go through the dogma means the all the religious leaders in his Akbar's ruling period, they preached or they emphasized their ritual and the and their experiences, speeches are called the dogmas. Those dogmas, the all the subject means people have to accept, so this is called the dogma. And next we go through the Mughal empire in the 17th century and after. Yes dear students, the administrative and military efficiency of the Mughal empire led to great economical and commercial prosperity in the ruling period of Akbar and successor. International travelers, some of the travelers described it as the one of the greatest period of the ruling period of Akbar, and they saw the fall of the Mughal dynasty also. So because inequalities were glaring means shockables. So documents from the 20th year of Shah Jahan's reign inform us that highest ranking mansabdars were appointed. Those number is 445 and total out of 8,000. So this small number, a mere or bare 5.6% of the total number of mansabdars received 61.5% of total estimated revenue of the empire as salaries for themselves and other troopers. Troopers means serviceman or soldier. So this was the very expensive army as well as administrative persons group the Akbar had in his ruling period, as well as the Mughal emperors and their mansabdars spent a great deal of their income on salaries and goods. So to maintain the salaries of the mansabdars, jagirdars, and other ministers, and goods, provided goods, for example food, water, shelter, as well as weapons, providing weapons for the soldiers. These are the so expensive matters in his ruling period, and sometimes they invested all the treasury amount to construct the various monuments like Taj Mahal, Fatehpur Sikri forts, and so on. So they were led the luxurious life in their ruling period. So this was the one of the causes for the decline of the Mughal empire. So let us start. The authority of the Mughal emperor slowly declined. The servants emerged as powerful center of power, and new dynasties and provinces like Hyderabad and Awadh emerged, but continued to recognize the Mughal emperor in Delhi as their master. So after capturing the Mughals provinces like Hyderabad and Awadh, all the nobles, they returned back their Awadh and Hyderabad administrative system to Mughal emperors, and they were accepted the Mughal emperors as their master. So by the 18th century, the provinces of the empire had consolidated their independent political identities. So these are all about the Mughal empire in the 17th century and after. In upcoming class, we will start the new lesson. Till then, bye bye. Stay home, stay safe.